Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 145 today, and normally we have a little bit bigger or much more finished projects, but as you will see today, not every week is as obvious as the last when it comes to either finished works or whether you even have them with you.
Yeah, that will be explained.
So, might be a shorter episode today, but obviously we just always like to check in with you whenever we can and just show the life of a crafter. I mean, the reality is that in any way you look at it, not every single week is super productive. Not every single week is going to be the same, whether it be you're going from one craft to the other.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of where we've been.
Yeah.
We both were kind of put in a situation where we kind of either asked or the situation required us to kind of pull away from our normal craft that we normally gravitate to a completely different area. And
Exactly.
we had to, I don't know, we had to kind of like take a moment to take a breath and be like, okay, shifting gears here.
Yeah, we're doing this now. So, I am still working on the blanket, but since I explained it last week and since I'm just still working on the rows,
Hot.
I figure that you wouldn't mind seeing something else this week. And this week I decided to try and make a headband. And it's not just a headband, it's a bandana headband.
Ooh.
And Sarah and I have lovingly called it the Cinderella headband. And you'll see why in a minute. But I found this on YouTube, and I want to say it's by Tracy Myers. I believe it's by Tracy Myers. Hers is T. Myers Handmade, and it's a cute headband that I figure I'm gonna make more of these in different fabrics and different decorations on it. But for this one, I used a fabric that has little bitty pink rose buds on it and a blue background, and I made a headband.
Love it.
And
It looks so good.
my decorations, well, I had fabric that had birdseed. Let me see if I can do this here.
You put a ball of yarn in there so it...
Yeah. And those three were all together. I just cut them out, sewed around them with my sewing machine, and I can show you on the back. Let's see. So I just sewed them together, but doing it so that each one of these rectangles was sewed down. I didn't just sew around the perimeter, I did each box. And then on the same material were birds, so I cut out a red one and a blue one and just sewed around those boxes as well, and made, this is why we're kind of calling it the Cinderella, is because she wears this kind, and but the birds love her and she feeds them and everything. And then I just held it together with an elastic that I covered with the same material. So yeah, it's found on T. Myers Handmade. It's called Bandana Headband, and I will put the information in the description below. Meanwhile, I am making things for my doll as well. And
I love it so much.
I sat there watching TV last night, and I I had the material with the birds and the bird seed right next to me. And I also had another material. And so I just cut out a big rectangle and made them into little pillows. Well, the first pillow I made was this one. And it's just
so amazing.
Whenever I make the little couch for her, this is going to be the throw pillow.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, can I help? Please.
Yeah.
I will get you the little bench that I got for the gnome, and then you can upholster it.
So we're off on another little tangent now. And I just sewed it, I hand sewed it, you know, right sides together, and then you flip it out and you stuff it. I had all kinds of ends to my yarn. I've been saving them and saving them. That's what's in here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, and it's quite thick and nice and plump. And each side has a rose on it. So it doesn't matter what side I have it on, it's going to look nice. And the other one was off the bird seed and bird material, but it also had bird houses. So I ended up cutting a big chunk of that out, putting right sides together, sewing all the way around, hand stitching, and then this is going to be a longer one. So it's got a birdhouse on one side, and you flip it over, and it's got a birdhouse on the other side.
Gotta love it.
See? So whatever way this one goes is going to be the right way also. And
I
so
love it.
these are both going to go on her little couch whenever we get it made.
I'm so excited.
I know. And so I am just slowly making things for the doll, and whenever I'm doing it, I'm thinking of my granddaughter as well, and so I've got enough of this material to make her a couple of throw pillows as well.
Oh.
So we may have to get a couple of benches.
Oh my God.
One for her, one for me.
Yes.
And you can pick out material for her bench, and because you could do it either. Now, the videos that I've been watching, you can make it either in velour, velvet, or leather. So we are deciding, and we are going to have fun with this.
God,
And you guys are going to come here.
It's going to be so much
You guys are going to come along on the ride for this. Now, this is still stitching. I'm still hand stitching. So we're still in the realm of the videos. So what are you working on? Oh, what have you gotten done first? I want you to let them know that you...
Okay, so I don't want to lose where I'm at in my round. Last week I shared that I had to do a leather project, and I was doing a bit of a notebook cover slash folder slash pencil case sort of a thing. Not pencil, but pen. And it was a treat. I learned a lot, and it was a very... It created a learning curve and a sense of an appreciation for the fact that I've been crafting for such a long time that going into another craft, it isn't as hard.
Right.
As if I were going into something that I have no place in. Like if I were to go into computers,
Yeah.
I know how to use a computer, but if I were to ask to set up a program or to,
Yeah.
you know, or to, I don't know, do something intricate, I wouldn't have the same sort of...
Skill set.
Yeah. having the skill set that I have acquired over this amount of time, going into another craft entirely isn't out of the realm of possibilities, especially when it does have a stitching nature into it
Yeah.
and an assembly nature,
Right.
specifically. And me and my husband were kind of doing it together, because the reality was that in going into leather, there was a lot of different tools or things that would make my end of the work much easier. Now, we didn't have a large budget for this particular project, so some of the things had to be handmade.
But it still worked.
Such as, my husband made me a saddle pony, which I don't, if anyone doesn't know, is pretty much a clamp that you use as like a vise for holding the pieces together while you're sewing it, because I was choosing to hand sew this project.
Yeah, and there's different stitches for that too, but she chose one that looked just like it was machine sewed. It was so good.
And so you're probably thinking, why aren't you just showing the finished product? And it's because it's already with the person that ordered it. And so I can show you some photos, but I want to show you what my husband made me first. It isn't hyperly polished or anything, but this works exactly as I need it, and I'm very excited about this. And I know that it might seem simple. You practically put this on the seat in front of you where your legs are, and put your legs on either on top of this to kind of give it some sense of stability. With this, with these arms coming up the way that they do, that allows for the height to be able to be at the right point where your arms are normally already at a stationary position to kind of sew. And this, as you can see, this dark piece is actually 2 leather bits that I actually glued to the clamps, because there were screws in them, and James was worried that by clamping with the screws still available, even though the screws were not, it was the head of the screws, not the point of the screws. He was nervous that it was going to leave an impression
Right.
on the leather by clamping it. So I actually just glued these leather pieces in so that it would keep it safe. So this does have a swivel to allow me to have it in different directions depending on what I need to be able to see once it's clamped. This clamp can detach completely, and I have full control to completely disassemble it if need be for storage. And that allowed me to be able to open it up. And yes, as you can see, I did just put patches of leather on it to make it soft and able. But again, you kind of put the piece that you're working on with just enough to be able to see the seam. You press it, you clamp it together, and you can put it on your legs to support it, and it can be right in front of you no matter where you're seated. It doesn't matter how you're seating as long as your legs can be down and supporting it, because some of these are meant to be supported onto a table, a work table, where it's always in that position, like put on the table.
Right.
So this would be completely secured onto a table with a clamp or however, and then you would be on like a tall working bench stool and be able to work on it or whatever. But because I am working from home and I don't have just a general workstation, I need tools that can kind of adapt to where I normally work, such as the living room when I'm watching stuff with my husband,
Yeah.
or with the kids when we're watching Disney, which is what I kind of did. I literally, me and my daughter put on Raya the other day, and we were just watching it as I'm literally doing a huge leather project. And
You're lucky that your husband loves to work with wood.
yeah, it might not be the prettiest, but it is one of the best things that he has made for me in recent times. He makes things for, but it's one of those, like, it suited the need so well.
It's a perfect tool.
for the right time.
Yeah.
And it came at the right time. And I am so grateful to his ingenuity and his ability to be able to see it.
And his still cheerleading you on doing the crafts that you are good at.
Because when I literally just had this person kind of just all of a sudden just be like, hey, you're good at crafting. Could you make me something like this? And I'm like, I have the hides, I have the leather, and he's just like, I'm pretty confident that I probably could go into that. But when he received it today, he's like, had you not told me that this was not bought from a store, I would not have been able to tell because of how well you made it.
It was that good.
And, you know, it's always nice to hear a nice compliment, but it was one of those, like, I really did feel like I did a good job. So the way that this was built was that it would, the back of a notebook would be able to slip into there so it would be inside the folder. This could hold, this was a pocket. As you can see, there's a little cutout for the finger to grab onto papers that could allow you to kind of slip papers or notes into it. And then there's pen holders or markers, highlighters could be put in there. And then when it was folded up, there was a magnetic closure that would, there was a magnetic closure that was, that I got the hardware for to be able to close it. And I end up choosing the sewing hardware for this project. I tried to do the one where it kind of crimps and it's able to just kind of be the fixtures have these little tabs, kind of like how a staple folds in on itself to secure. Mm-hmm. Similar to that design, there are magnetic closures that have that on the back where if you just punch holes, you could just pinch it on.
Yeah.
I thought that would be fine, but I realized how much secure these would be. But I could not just continuously sew onto it. I could only sew 3 points onto holding it on, because if you think about it, leather is a material that is a solid piece of material. It's not the same as a cotton cloth that is actually, no matter how small it is, how tightly woven it is woven, meaning that it has accesses going one way and the other, so you're poking into already pre-existing holes of space that just have to be breached,
right? And
you can continuously find a new hole, but there's a solid that's in between them that's not going to burst.
Well, it's self-healing. It will clamp onto.
Yes. With a solid material like this that's not woven, if you do too many holes, it's going to completely rip. And so I had to be very good about how I did that, but it ended up working out just nicely, and he ended up liking it. And obviously this is what it would look like closed. It snapped secure and was perfectly to his liking, and I did it to his particular notebook size. He received it today. He literally got it all set up where he was taking notes out of it and putting notes into all the pockets and getting stuff done as we're talking. He's literally getting his pens where he wants it, and he's fiddling with it while we're talking. He was so happy with it. And he's just like, he would put it down and pick it back up and put it down and pick it back up. And he'd be like, man, this really is sturdy. This looks good. It feels nice. And
it reminds me of a woman getting a new purse. You're putting things in different sections and stuff, and you're so happy when you get it.
And he was asking questions about it, and you know, there was a lot of learning, because with something like a hide, you normally have to finish it. It is not a requirement to finish it this way, but if you want it to look nice, and because of how most finished products with leather have a particular look for, there's something called burnishing, which, if you can tell, it has the word burn in it, which means that you're rubbing the ends with a liquid fast enough to actually create friction and heat to create a proper edge that is actually darker, almost the same color as whatever the leather is dyed to, because if you cut into the leather flesh, it's actually light because you're only going to dye the exposed top or bottom. It cannot be completely saturated because it is thick. So when you're doing that, you're kind of creating it's not as prominent, you don't see it as heavily, and then you can use a stain to do it, because normally you burnish it with water, and then you use another liquid, whether it be you're using wax or you're using a stain. I got to have beeswax, and that softened it. It softened it. It was really soft. So he liked it. He seemed very pleased with it. I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful to hear that it was to his liking and it was exactly what he was looking for. Going from where I started with the project with my first attempt to where it ended off, it's two different pieces. They did not look the same. And I realized that there is a progression when you're trying to figure something out the right way. There's going to be almost kind of like a first draft, second draft, third draft, fourth draft, like as in writing. There's an evolution to you learning how to do something. And you start off one place and come out a completely different place.
And you gave him the much better version.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm very grateful. But for the purposes of this video, and because I do have little ears around here, some of the projects I'd hoped to have done by this time had to be put to the wayside because of how many times I had to start over with that leather project and how it kept getting pushed off and all the different things that were there. I was trying to get other things done that have been past their due time for a while, and I feel absolutely horrible about. But then there's also the fact that my daughter's birthday is around the corner, and there's things that, again, budget-wise, because of the fact that I already have yarn already in my house, it makes the most sense for me to actually hand make some of the things that she will like. Because it was one of those things where it's like, I'm not trying to push my desire to create onto her being able to have something that she wants over her having something that she wants, right? It's like, I don't expect me making a homemade doll to be the same as a Rainbow High doll.
Exactly.
They're not going to be the same thing. She'll appreciate both, but for different reasons. And she has the right to want a store-bought toy. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was one of those things where it's like, my daughter really likes Lilo and Stitch, and she likes very specific aliens from that show. And I end up finding the patterns for them.
Yay.
And because I already had the yarn to match the color palettes for them, I'm kind of working on them. But, she doesn't know that what I'm doing. Hopefully by next week I might be hiding a project in a box and showing you guys kind of like what I did for Christmas time.
Yeah.
But,
so awesome.
Yeah, I plan to have a buttload of finished projects by next week, because the reality is that on top of the projects that I need to get done because their deadlines have been past due, I also have these things, and her birthday is not this weekend but the following, so it's like a lot of stuff will be done by next Wednesday. I'm probably going to have a whole range of stuff, and my hands are going to hurt so much, but you know what? The joy of knowing that it's going to suit
the need.
It's gonna be so good. So just you wait. It's gonna be so much fun.
That ties in so perfectly with what we chose for our verse today. Not verse, quote. So it says, "Love and kindness are never wasted. They always make a difference. They bless the one who receives them, and they bless you, the giver." And that was said by Barbara DeAngelis. Love and kindness are never wasted. They always make a difference. They bless the one who receives them, and they bless you, the giver. I just think it's perfectly suited to what we were just saying. There's always a joy to giving something that you've made. And there's always the anticipation of what their face is going to look like when you give it to them.
Yeah.
And it's never wasted.
And I know that what I'm about to say might seem like I'm putting a downer on such a brilliant quote, but I feel like it needs to be said. And that is, there are people that, based off of the hurt in their life, tend to be takers.
Yeah.
To people who freely give. And I've learned a very interesting boundary for givers that still reps into how you can still view it, even if you've been around someone who's taken advantage of your giving. And what it is you will walk away knowing that you were still your genuine self and you gave to someone that you thought was worth it. And even though you have to walk away knowing that you have to set the boundary because they have taken too much, more than they've given, you can walk away knowing that you didn't leave behind any pain.
Yeah.
Because I remember there is this hospice nurse that I follow, and she sometimes has people that, if you don't know, some people that are in prison that have they have a life sentence. Once they hit an age where they're actually on like a death watch or their health is really plummeting, especially when they're in their older years, there is a way that the state will actually have them be put back into their home just for their last bit of their life and not die in prison. Despite the fact that they're serving their time, they're at a point in their life where they're not going to be runaways, they're not going to be someone that's taking advantage of it. They're literally on the last of their life.
Yeah.
And this lady said she had one of those people, and she normally made a rule never to look into their criminal history so that it doesn't hurt her ability to be able to treat them as just one of her clients, as one of her people that she takes care of. She made a mistake to not do that with one of these clients, and she ended up learning the amount of damage that this person had in their earlier years, and the irreparable things that they've done in their life, where they've hurt people beyond being a repair. And she had a war inside of herself, being like, I'm trying to make sure that this person is so comfortable and so is going to die in such peace, and yet they made so much chaos in other people's lives, where their lives and their deaths were not peaceful because of everything that they had to live with or could not live through. And she's like, and it came to me, I will never be that. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how you've lived or what you've done. My baseline behavior is that I will never change, no matter whether you have been a horrible person or not, or have made decisions that I could never have made. I am going to set the example as to what I give out into the world, and what I want to see sown, and what I want to see possibly be reaped. And I will never be you.
Right.
I will have never made that decision, and I will never even make it right now, even though part of me feels like you deserve it.
Right. Right.
I will not do it because maybe it will be that final click of that person realizing, and maybe finally dealing with their internal battles and realizing maybe that's their turning moment. And for someone who's a taker in your life, if you're a giver, there's a reality of walking away still knowing that you've never left the same damage.
Right.
And you're allowed to walk away not giving anymore, not because that doesn't take away your ability to be a giver, but it's because you've given all that you can.
Right.
And
you can only be you, and I can only be me.
And I think that there's a beauty to love and kindness are never wasted. They will never be wasted.
Right.
But you can oversow.
Yeah.
You can put too many seeds in one spot.
Yeah.
Where you're crowding and creating too many roots.
Right.
There is a point in which you have to, there's the right amount of giving. There's the right amount of walking away.
Right.
And I think that this is just so beautiful as to Love and kindness are never wasted. They always make a difference. They bless the one who receives them, and they bless you, the giver. Barbara DeAngelis. It's true. It's true. And I wasn't trying to be a downer, but there's just a reality to the fact that you can be your authentic giver self, still have boundaries, and also realize that even if you're around people that you can't stand the decisions they've made in their life, you can prove that you will never be the person that reciprocates that in your own way. You're not going to be cruel. You're not going to be mean.
Right.
You're just going to set clear boundaries.
Right.
And you are going to give within those boundaries.
Yeah.
Because you don't want a part of you to be taken.
Exactly.
That
That's
can't
true.
be that you cannot repair. You are your biggest person that you will live with the rest of your life. Protect you.
Yeah.
Protect you. You're the one who you go to sleep with. You're the one who you live with every single day. You're the one who has to communicate with yourself every single day.
Right.
And a lot of people struggle with the thoughts that they have to live with themselves. Live your lives with as little regrets as possible. Love yourself, forgive yourself, and cherish yourself, because you're an amazing person. And
that's right.
And every person has their stumbling blocks. Pick yourself back up, you learn from it, and you keep going forward.
Yes. So good.
We hope that you come back next week,
Yes.
as we will have actually probably a bit to share.
Oh, yeah.
And we hope that your projects are doing well, that you will come back and join us, and that you were encouraged by this message, and that you enjoyed our updates. So, as always, we love you guys, and we will see you next week, and we hope that you stitch your way
To mental health.